The book I have in my hands is called The Choice by Edith Ledger. It has been one of the best reads I have ever read. So good, in fact, that I don't just have the audiobook version of this book, but I have the physical copy with me here. It is just such a beautiful, eye-opening story. And the reason why I say it's eye-opening is because it's more about recognizing that it is important to your own mental health to know that no matter how hard or terrible the choice that you make is, that even in the worst of circumstances, you have a choice. Edith herself was a survivor of the Holocaust. Now, if you don't know what the Holocaust is, it was incredibly awful, and it involves Jewish people and the culling of Jewish people like crazy. But not just the Jewish people. It was also those who were disabled and anybody that upset the Nazi agenda, shall we say. Political agenda, as well as ideological, almost faith-orientated agenda. Their agenda was to create the Aryan race, or at least a super race. And part of it was something called the last course of action, which meant the total annihilation of the Jewish population, along with the Gypsy population, of every country the Nazis managed to get themselves to and through. In some parts of this book, it is so poignantly sad in the fact that even Edith herself recognises that there was a choice that her parents had made that meant that she and her siblings had to go through the Holocaust, had to go to the camps. But even in the worst of the worst times, she acknowledges that her mother had words of wisdom just for her. Edith became a really good cognitive behavioural therapist, and I would have said, as a result of acknowledging that even in the worst of worst situations that she has a choice, and therefore an uplifted sense of responsibility and capability, that she's had a better life because of this acknowledgement that she has the ability to choose what goes on in her life. And I just wish that lots more people actually had that knowledge, that even if their choices are really, really bad, that they do have a choice. When Edith is refused her rightful place, or at least what she considered to be her rightful place as a ballet performer for the Olympics, I kind of recognise a bit of my own history in the fact that I used to do ballet as a child. Yes, I was not as good as she was. I was not as good at all as she was. In fact, her ballet aided her in her survival. But I recognise the fact that I did ballet, and I can kind of empathise with it, but I also find myself sitting there remembering times in my own life when people did have a choice, even down to small things like when I was younger and I wanted to skip with all the other girls and play with skipping ropes, and the other girls just wouldn't let me play in their group skipping games because I was blind, and they felt that I couldn't do it, and therefore decided that I couldn't do it. That in itself was a choice, and I had a choice in how I dealt with the consequences of that action. I'm glad that I had good people around me who gave me an individual skipping rope to use so that I could actually just skip as an individual on my own without them, because I think that did help to boost my confidence as a blind person. And I don't want to be a spoiler. I want you to read the book and see what you personally get out of it. But this is what I've personally got out of The Choice by Edith Ledger. She also does another book called The Gift, and that is quite literally a guide in how to decide things in your life, or at least it's based in this similar experience. But this is a biography of her entire life and how she came to terms with the actuality of the Holocaust as a trauma in her life. And it is one of the fundamental books that has made me very interested in becoming a cognitive behavioural therapist, because I feel even though I'm blind, I could actually do this. So anyway, I don't want to be party pooper. I want you to read the book and see what you get out of it. Thank you for listening, guys, and see you soon. Bye-bye.